Hot off the presses, our decision desk has just made a call in Ohio on issue 1, and we project that it will pass.
I don't know who needs to hear this in the Republican Party, but abortion is a big problem for you. Abortion rights were the driving issue in elections up and down Tuesday's ballots.
I am so happy I don't know what to do with myself because the majority still rules.
It has been a year and a half since the Supreme Court stripped away the constitutional right to an abortion. And the story of abortion rights politically since then has been one of furious backlash. You saw it in that clip earlier. There were huge victories for abortion rights up and down the ballot as women across the country rose up with one voice and said, we will not go back. But at that very same time, we got a very painful look at what it means to live under one of these bans as women came forward to share incredibly just painful stories of being denied the health care that they needed if it was an abortion.
That law forced me to carry a baby for months that was never going to live and easily could have killed me.
That they couldn't touch me until I was crashing and that we should wait in the parking lot until I was about to die.
I know that what happened to me is happening to people all across the country, not just in Texas, all over the country. So many people are being hurt by similar restrictive bans.
The women in those clips are heroes for telling their stories and making their voices heard, because every day is bringing news of another harrowing tragedy that is, make no mistake, these tragedies, they are the result of these cruel abortion restrictions. In Ohio, one woman, Brittany Watts, is facing a felony charge after miscarrying a pregnancy that her doctors told her would not survive. Brittany Watts was turned in by her own medical providers, her nurse. Joining our conversation, the president and CEO of the National Women's Law Center, Fatima Goss-Graves, and with me here at the table, O'Neill Professor of Constitutional Law and Global Health Policy at Georgetown Law School, Michelle Goodwin, and also the President and CEO of Reproductive Freedom for All, Minnie Timaraju. Minnie, these stories literally turn my stomach. What are your reflections after the first year of just post-Roe?
You know, there's been a lot of discussion of the so-called Dobbs effect, and, we can unpack that a little bit here today. For real-life Americans, men and women, right, families across the country, it has been devastating. We have 21 states with abortion bans and some sort of restriction. We have women like you just showed on camera who are suffering, who are being left to die before their practitioners can make decisions because of the climate of fear that has been created in this country. At the same time, as you noted, you have voters making it very clear where they stand, but Republican extremists completely unable to meet the moment. Absolute abject failure. And this is really important as we go into 2024 and we think about where the big fights are going to be. We have to be really clear to define who the villains are here, and Democrats have to be really clear about what they're going to do to fix it.
What they're going to fix it is key. I mean, I want to zero in, if we can, on Brittany Watts' case in Ohio, because it is harrowing, Michelle, what has happened. The Washington Post is reporting this, and I'm going to quote them. 8 hours. Doctors and officials determined the ethics of inducing labor for a woman who had been diagnosed with preterm premature rupture of membranes, had no detectable amniotic fluid, and had advanced cervical dilation. One doctor was particularly blunt about the urgency of inducing Watts' delivery. My recommendation, instead of waiting until mom is on death's door before proceeding with treatment, is to deliver this baby by inducing, the doctor wrote. 7 hours later, Watts still had not been induced. Can you just talk about the horrors of what Brittany Watts is suffering? And to be clear, there are many other Brittany Wattses across this country, but she is the person that we currently know of who is now facing a felony charge.
That's exactly right.
For miscarrying in a toilet.
Well, what we have to understand is that this is also not new for Black women. It's important to understand that her case has not really gotten the attention in which it deserves, which is also not unusual. In the 1980s and 90s, Black women were the canaries in the coal mine, literally being dragged out of hospitals in shackles and chains after giving birth, in bloodied gowns, to awaiting police cars because they were snitched on by their doctors and nurses, lured into hospitals under the pretext that they would get prenatal care, but their confidential medical information turned over to law enforcement. So what we're seeing that was old is now new again in this post-Dobbs moment. And I want to pause to really think about what's happened to her and other women across the country, how frightening it is to wait 8 hours in a hospital not getting the care that you need while you are bleeding, while you are being told that your life is at risk, that you could experience sepsis. She went not once to a hospital, but at least twice being told the same thing. And not unlike other women, she miscarried in a toilet. But then what happened? Police ransacked her home and her bathroom, destroying the toilet, looking for stool, blood, fetal remains. I mean, that sounds so graphic, and I hate to be so graphic, but that's what these times deserve.
But that is what is happening, and I do think it is very important that we are actual and factual about what many women and families across this country are facing. And as we underscore, Brittany Watts this is the name that we know, but there are many more Brittany Watts across the country. How concerned should other women be about facing charges as Brittany Watts currently
they should be absolutely on guard about this. I mean, let's be clear. In Louisiana and South Carolina, there are lawmakers that have proposed the death penalty in abortion cases. The tapestry that has been woven by anti-abortion lawmakers is something that is horrific, it is chilling, and it is broad, and it is deep. This is not something that is narrow, nor is it something that is thin. And given the hyper-surveillance of Black and brown women anyway, and given the backdrop of the hyper-policing of Black people anyway, we should go into 2024 being vigilant and aware about the risks that involve being pregnant in the United States.